The champagne flute shattered against the stone floor of the vineyard pavilion, shards flying like accusations as Michael's voice cracked through the stunned silence. "Ethan, wait, God, no, this isn't right." I froze mid-stride, my heart slamming against my ribs like a caged animal, the scent of crushed grapes and impending rain thick in the air. As every eye in the crowd turned to me, the best man who suddenly felt like the villain in his own brother's fairy tale. I never imagined that the summer of my 25th year would unravel like a bad indie film, one of those Sundance darlings where the straight-laced protagonist discovers his family skeletons are actually his own buried desires. Growing up in the sun-baked sprawl of suburban Sacramento, Michael and I were the golden boys of Elmwood High. Him the quarterback with the easy grin and me the artsy shadow trailing in his wake, sketching plays in the margins of his notebooks while he threw touchdown passes that made the cheerleaders swoon. We were brothers, blood-thick and unbreakable, the kind of duo that shared secrets under the covers with flashlights during thunderstorms, whispering about conquering the world beyond the almond orchards. But that was before college scattered us. Michael to UCLA on a football scholarship, me to San Francisco State with a paintbrush in one hand and a chip on my shoulder the size of the Bay Bridge. By the time he called me last fall, his voice buzzing with that old excitement over the phone, I was hustling as a barista in the Mission District, slinging lattes to tech bros and dreaming of my big break in graphic design. Man, you gotta come home for this," he'd said, the line crackling like our childhood radios. "I'm getting married. Sarah, remember her from that party in junior year? It's happening next summer. Napa Valley. Full vineyard blowout. You're my best man. Obviously, Sarah." The name hit like a half-remembered melody, vague and sweet. Yeah, I remembered her. Leggy blonde with a laugh like wind chimes, the girl who draped herself over Michael's arm at prom while I nursed a crush on the debate team captain in the corner. It made sense. Michael had always been the one who fit the mold, charming, straight arrow, the guy who'd settle down with 2 kids and a golden retriever by 30. I said yes without hesitation, because that's what brothers do. I flew down for the engagement party in December, the air crisp with the promise of holiday lights strung across the family ranch. Mom and Dad were over the moon, Dad clapping Michael on the back with that gruff pride that masked his own regrets about the farm going under in the drought years. "Knew you'd make it right, son," he'd muttered, while Mom fussed over Sarah's ring, a modest solitaire that caught the firelight like a captured star. Sarah was everything you'd expect, poised, ambitious, a marketing whiz at some Silicon Valley startup, with stories about boardroom battles that made us all laugh. She fit Michael like a glove, or so I told myself as I watched them dance under the string lights, his hand steady on her waist, her head on his shoulder. But late that night, when the party's embers died down and I crashed in my old room, Michael slipped in like a ghost, beer in hand, collapsing onto the edge of my bed. "Can't sleep?" I'd asked, propping up on my elbow, the familiar creak of the springs pulling me back to boyhood. He'd stared at the ceiling, shadows playing across his jawline, sharper now from the years of gym sessions and boardroom stress. "Just thinking about the future. You know," his voice was low, threaded with something I couldn't place, a hesitation that snagged like barbed wire. I punched his arm lightly, the way we used to. "Hey, you've got it all, Mikey. Sarah's a catch. Dad's finally off your back about grandkids. What's eating you?" He turned then, his eyes, those hazel depths that had always seen right through my bullshit, locking onto mine in the dim glow of the bedside lamp. For a split second, the room shrank, the air thickening with unspoken weight. "Ethan," he said softly. Promise me you'll always have my back. No matter what. Always? I whispered back, my throat tight for reasons I couldn't name. He nodded, clinked his bottle against mine, and left without another word. I lay there long after, replaying the moment, chalking it up to pre-wedding jitters. Brothers, right? That's all it was. The months blurred into a frenzy of planning. Sarah's texts pinged my phone relentlessly. Color schemes, sage green and ivory. Menu tastings, truffle-infused this, heirloom tomato that, and endless fittings for the groomsmen tuxes that made me feel like a penguin in a heatwave. I threw myself into it, designing the invitations on my laptop, elegant scripts swirling around embossed vines, a nod to the Napa setting that screamed old money romance. It was a distraction from my own mess, the freelance gigs drying up, the one-night stands with guys from Grindr that left me hollow, the nagging voice in my head whispering that at 25, I was already circling the drain. Spring brought Michael's bachelor party to Vegas, a raucous weekend of blackjack tables and bottomless mimosas that I organized with military precision. We hit the strip like conquerors, Michael at the center, laughing louder than anyone as we catcalled showgirls and downed shots in dive bars off the beaten path. But on the second night, after the others had stumbled back to the hotel, he and I ended up on a rooftop bar overlooking the neon sprawl, the desert wind whipping at our shirts. You're quiet tonight, he said, nursing a whiskey neat, his tie loosened like a noose half-slipped. I shrugged, staring at the Eiffel Tower replica glittering below. Just sober enough to regret the tattoo I almost got. He chuckled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Can I ask you something? Hypothetical. Shoot. What if? What if the life you're building isn't the one you want? Like, you've got the job, the girl, the house with the picket fence, but deep down, it's all wrong. Twisted up inside. My pulse quickened, the city lights blurring as I turned to him. Then you blow it up. Start over. Life's too short for pretending. He held my gaze, longer than he should have, the silence stretching taut between us. Yeah, he murmured finally. Yeah, maybe you're right. His hand brushed my knee under the table. Accidental, fleeting, but it lingered in my skin like a brand. I pulled away first, blaming the altitude, the booze, anything but the spark that jumped there. We flew home the next day, hungover and hushed, the incident buried under layers of bro-code denial. I threw myself into the final wedding prep, arriving in Napa a week early to help set up the venue. Rows of white chairs arcangee toward a flower-draped arch, the vineyard rows stretching like green soldiers under the relentless California sun. Sarah was a whirlwind, directing florists with the precision of a general, while Michael seemed distant, withdrawn. He'd catch my eye across the tasting room, a flicker of something raw passing between us before he'd look away, burying himself in last-minute calls to the caterer. The rehearsal dinner was a lavish affair at a hillside bistro, fairy lights twinkling against the dusk. Toasts flowed like the Cabernet, Dad's rambling about legacy, Mom's teary ode to family, and when it was my turn, I stood with glass raised, words tumbling out in a rush. To Michael, my brother, my anchor. You've always been the brave one, charging ahead while I lagged behind. Sarah, you're the luck we all deserve. May your life together be as epic as the stories we grew up telling. Applause rippled, but Michael's face, illuminated by candlelight, was a mask, proud, pained, unreadable. Later, as we mingled on the terrace, he pulled me aside, his breath warm against my ear. That was beautiful. But, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. My stomach dropped. Cold feet? Mikey, it's normal. Talk to her. Hell, talk to me. He gripped my shoulder, fingers digging in like he was anchoring himself to a cliff. It's not Sarah. Everything. Promise me again that you'll have my back. Always, I said, the word a vow etched in bone. He nodded, released me, and vanished into the crowd to dance with his fiancée. I watched from the shadows, a knot of unease twisting tighter, the first raindrops pattering on the awning like hesitant applause. The wedding day dawned muggy and overcast, the valley humming with the low buzz of anticipation. I woke in my suite at the inn, head pounding from a restless night, dreams fragmented with rooftop confessions and phantom touches. The tux hung crisp on the door, a symbol of normalcy I clung to as I showered off the sweat of unspoken fears. Michael was already up when I knocked on his door, pacing in boxers, his broad shoulders tense under the morning light slanting through the blinds. Nervous? I asked, forcing a grin as I tossed him a coffee. He caught it one-handed, his smile brittle. Like a virgin on prom night, we laughed, the sound hollow, and for a moment it was us again, two kids plotting world domination over cereal bowls. But as I helped him knot his tie, our reflections side by side in the mirror, something shifted. His hand steadied on my waist, a beat too long, and I swear the air crackled, charged like the storm brewing over the hills. He started, voice rough. If things go south today, they won't. I cut in, stepping back, heart hammering. You're Michael fucking Thompson. You've got this. He searched my face, then nodded, clapping my back with forced joviality. Right? Let's make it official. The ceremony site was a dream. Petals carpeting the aisle, string quartet sawing at Pachelbel's cannon, guests in pastel linens fanning themselves against the humidity. Sarah emerged like a vision, veil billowing, her father's arm steady as they processed toward the arch. Michael stood tall, vows poised on his lips, but his eyes, his eyes, kept drifting to me in the front row. Best man duties be damned. I shifted, suit itching like guilt, forcing smiles for the photographer's lens. The officiant cleared his throat. The crowd hushed as Michael took Sarah's hands. Sarah, from the moment I met you, his voice faltered, gaze sliding past her to lock on mine. The world tilted. Rain began to spit, fat drops plinking on leaves, and then chaos. He dropped her hands, turning fully toward me, microphone clutched like a lifeline. Ethan, he said, voice booming through the speakers, raw and ragged. Wait, God. No, this isn't right. The pavilion erupted in murmurs, a wave of confusion rippling outward like the rain intensifying on the tent canopy above us. Sarah's face crumpled, her bouquet trembling in white-knuckled fists, while Mom gasped from her seat, hand fluttering to her pearls as if they could ward off the unraveling. Dad's jaw set in that familiar thundercloud scowl, but I couldn't process them. Couldn't process anything beyond Michael's eyes, burning into mine with a desperation that clawed at my chest. Mikey! What the hell? I hissed, half rising, but he was already striding down the aisle, tuxedo jacket flapping like broken wings, the crowd parting in stunned silence. He stopped inches from me, close enough that I could smell his cologne, sandalwood and regret, mingling with the earthy petrichor. Ethan, he repeated, softer now, just for us, his voice a plea wrapped in thunder. You're the one. You've always been the one. The words hung there, heavier than the storm clouds unleashing their full fury, sheets of rain lashing the vineyard like divine judgment. Time fractured. Flashes of childhood forts built from couch cushions, late-night drives with the windows down and Springsteen blasting, the way his laugh could pull me from the darkest moods. And beneath it all, the buried truth I'd ignored, the way my sketches always circled back to his profile, the ache in Vegas that wasn't just the hangover. I shoved him back, palms flat against his chest, feeling the wild thrum of his heart mirroring mine. Stop. Jesus. Michael. Not here. Not like this. But my voice cracked, betraying me, and his hands caught my wrists, holding me there in the downpour's edge, water beating on his lashes like unshed tears. The officiant was babbling something about postponement, Sarah's sobs cutting through the din as her bridesmaids swarmed her. But Michael didn't flinch. I can't marry her. I thought I could pretend, thought it was what everyone wanted. Dad's legacy, Mom's dreams, the whole goddamn American pie. But it's you. It's always been you. His confession spilled out, jagged and unfiltered, the microphone forgotten on the wet grass, amplifying every syllable to the gasping guests. I wrenched free, storming past him toward the vines, the world a blur of soaked silk and shattered illusions. Branches whipped at my face as I plunged deeper, roots sucking at my polished shoes, until I collapsed against a gnarled trunk, chest heaving. Betrayal burned hot. Not just his, but mine, for the lies I'd told myself over years of sidelong glances and suppressed dreams. Michael was my brother. Blood. The line we'd towed but never crossed. Not really. Or had we, the rooftop brush, the mirrored moment that morning? It all crashed over me like the floodwaters swelling the creek below. Footsteps sloshed behind me, and there he was, drenched and defiant, dropping to his knees in the mud. Ethan, please. Talk to me. What is there to say? I spat, wiping rain from my eyes, tasting salt that wasn't just the storm. You just torched your life, our family's life. For what? A fucked up crush. His laugh was bitter, hollow. Crush? God. It's more than that. Remember the summer after your freshman year? You came home from SF, all brooding artist with that sketchbook full of cityscapes. We drove up to Tahoe, just us, camping under the stars. You talked about wanting to feel something real, something that scared you. And I lay there, watching you sleep, and I knew I loved you, not like a brother. Like everything. My breath hitched, memories flooding back. The crackle of pine fire, the way his arm had slung over my sleeping bag in the cold, protective and warm. I'd woken with his face inches from mine, pulse racing in the dawn light, and bolted upright, blaming the altitude. You never said anything. You dated girls. Sarah was safe, he admitted, voice breaking. She was the version of normal I could sell to the world. To Dad, who still whispers about fixing me after that one time he found my browser history. To Mom, who's planned this wedding since we were kids. But every night, it's your face I see. Your laugh. The way you light up when you talk about your art. Like the world's not already half broken. I slid down the trunk, knees buckling, the mud soaking through my slacks. And what now? You confess at your wedding, in front of God and everybody. That's not romance. Mikey. That's destruction. He crawled closer, heedless of the filth, cupping my face with trembling hands. Then destroy me. Hate me. But don't pretend you don't feel it too. I see it in you, the way you look at me when you think I'm not watching. The hesitation in Vegas. Tell me I'm wrong. I wanted to. God, I wanted to shove him away, call him delusional, run back to the city and bury this in anonymous hookups and late-night sketches. But the truth was a live wire, sparking under my skin. You're my brother, I whispered, the words a dam breaking. It's wrong. Sick, even. Is it? His thumb traced my jaw, gentle as a prayer. Or is it the most honest thing we've ever done? I love you, Ethan. Not the brother version. The all of you version. The rain pounded harder, drowning out the distant shouts from the pavilion. Guests fleeing to cars, Sarah's wail carried on the wind. I leaned into his touch, just once, the forbidden warmth seeping through the chill. Then reality snapped back. Dad's truck rumbling down the access road, headlights cutting through the sheets like accusatory beams. Get up, I hissed, yanking him to his feet. We can't, not now. We stumbled back toward the chaos. Clothes plastered, faces streaked with mud and emotion. The pavilion was a war zone. Overturned chairs, soggy programs fluttering like defeated flags. Sarah huddled with her mother, eyes red-rimmed and furious. Mom rushed us, umbrella in hand, her voice shrill. Michael, Ethan, what in God's name? Dad cut her off, face purple with rage, grabbing Michael's arm. You son of a bitch. After everything, the farm, the scholarships, this family, you pull this freak show. Michael shrugged him off, standing tall despite the quiver in his lip. Dad, you can't lie anymore. I'm gay. And it's Ethan. It's always been Ethan. The words landed like grenades. Mom swayed, clutching Dad for support, while Sarah rose. Vale Askew, her voice a whip crack. You bastard. All those nights you held me, whispering promises. It was him, your own brother. She slapped him then, the sound echoing sharper than thunder, and bolted into the rain, tires screeching as her getaway car peeled out. I stepped between them, hands raised. Enough. This isn't, we need to talk. Privately, but Dad wasn't having it. Talk? You've poisoned him. Boy. Whatever twisted shit you've fed my son. It's not Ethan's fault, Michael roared, the quarterback fire igniting. It's mine. I chose this. I choose him. The slap Dad landed echoed Sarah's, Michael's head snapping back, a trickle of blood from his lip. I lunged, shoving Dad away. Touch him again, and we're done. All of us. The vineyard fell silent save for the rain, our family fracturing in real time. Mom sobbed. Dad stormed to his truck, tires spinning mud as he vanished down the hill. Michael sagged against me, and for the first time, I didn't pull away. We stood there, soaked and spent, as the storm raged on, washing away the veneer of the life we'd built. That night, holed up in the inn suite we'd shared as kids, back when vacations meant fishing poles and no-bake cookies, the weight settled like lead. Michael paced, ice pack pressed to his jaw, while I brewed coffee strong enough to strip paint, the room thick with the scent of wet wool and unspoken recriminations. They hate me, he muttered finally, sinking onto the bed, head in hands. I just nuked everything. Not everything, I said, handing him a mug, our fingers brushing in a spark that no longer scared me. Us. We have us. He looked up, eyes searching. Do we? Or was that just the heat of the moment? The drama? I sat beside him, close enough that our thighs pressed. The contact electric. I've spent years running from it, Mikey. Dating guys who looked like you but weren't. Sketching your face in secret notebooks I burned. It's not drama. Inevitable. His breath caught, and then he was kissing me. Slow at first, tentative, lips tasting of salt and coffee, then deepening with the hunger of dammed rivers breaking free. My hands fisted in his damp shirt, pulling him closer, the world narrowing to the slide of tongues, the gasp of realization. Brothers or not, this was fire consuming, clarifying. We tumbled back onto the pillows, rain lashing the windows like applause, shedding tuxes and inhibitions in a tangle of limbs and whispered names. After, tangled in sheets that smelled of us, he traced patterns on my chest, voice hushed. What now? We can't just disappear. I stared at the ceiling, post-climax clarity sharpening the edges. We go back, face the fallout. But together. No more hiding. He nodded, but doubt shadowed his eyes. Dad won't forgive this. Incest, that's what they'll call it. Freaks. Abominations. Let them, I said fiercely, turning to claim his mouth again. We're Thompsons. We rebuild. But as sleep claimed us, arms entwined, I couldn't shake the serpent of fear coiling in my gut. Rebuild, or burn it all down. The next morning brought hungover regrets and harsh sunlight filtering through half-drawn blinds. My phone buzzed incessantly. Texts from mutual friends. WTF happened? Mom's voicemails laced with hysteria. Come home, boys. We can fix this. And nothing from Dad. Sarah had blocked Michael. Her final message a venomous screed. Rot in hell with your brother fucker. We drove back to Sacramento in silence. The Prius I'd rented humming along I-80. Napa's vines giving way to flat farmlands scarred by drought. Michael gripped the wheel white-knuckled. Bruises blooming purple on his jaw. I should call her. Apologize properly. Don't, I said. Hand on his thigh, a gesture now loaded with new meaning. She deserves better than pity. We all do. He glanced over, a ghost of his old smile. We? So this is us now? Yeah. I breathed, the admission freeing. Us. Home was the old ranch house on the outskirts, sagging porch and all, where Mom waited with coffee and red-rimmed eyes. She hugged us fiercely, avoiding Dad's absence like a landmine. Your father's at the diner. Cooling off. Oh, boys, what have you done? We sat at the scarred oak table, spilling the truth in halting confessions. The buried feelings, the Vegas what-ifs, the wedding epiphany born of terror and clarity. Mom listened, fingers twisting her necklace, tears carving tracks down her cheeks. My babies, she whispered finally. I always knew Michael was different. The way he'd watch you, like you hung the moon. But this, it's a hard road. We know, Michael said, reaching for my hand across the table. She didn't flinch, just covered ours with her own. A quiet absolution. Dad returned at dusk, reeking of bourbon and fury, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. Out, he growled, pointing at me. You leave now, or God help me. Dad. Michael started, but I stood, chin lifted. No. I'm not going anywhere. Hate me, disown me, whatever. But Michael's staying. And so am I. The standoff stretched, air crackling with unspoken histories. Dad's own youth squandered on a farm that broke him, the alcoholism he'd beaten with AA meetings Michael and I had dragged him to his teens. Finally, he deflated, sinking into his armchair, voice gruff. "You're killing your mother. Killing me. This perversion, it's not natural. It's love," I countered, the word a shield. "The real kind. Messy. Yeah. Wrong to some. But ours." He waved a hand, dismissive, but his eyes, wet, averted, betrayed the crack. "Get out of my sight. Both of you." We retreated to Michael's old room, now a guest space with faded posters of Raiders' glory days. Curled together on the twin bed, we plotted escapes. My SF apartment as a temporary bunker, job hunts in the city for him. But the betrayal lingered, a shadow over our fragile newness, Sarah's shattered trust, Dad's revulsion, the family we'd alienated in one rain-soaked afternoon. Weeks blurred into a tense limbo. Michael quit his finance gig in the valley, the boardroom facade crumbling as he confessed his orientation in tearful emails. Friends drifted, some with awkward support, others with radio silence that cut deeper than slurs. Mom became our lifeline, stocking the fridge with care packages and mediating Dad's grunts into grudging tolerance. One night, as autumn leaves skittered across the lawn, Dad knocked on our door, mine now, shared in secret, and handed Michael a beer, the gesture olive branch small. "Son," he rumbled, avoiding eyes. "I ain't okay with this. Never will be. But you're my blood. Don't make me bury you too." It wasn't forgiveness, but it was a start. Michael choked up, hugging him awkwardly, while I watched from the hall, hope flickering like porch light. Fall in Sacramento hits like a reluctant lover, crisp edges softening into Indian summer haze, the air heavy with the scent of ripening citrus and distant wildfires. Michael and I navigated our new reality with the caution of tightrope walkers, every touch a risk, every glance a confession. We moved to my cramped mission apartment in a U-Haul rented on a whim, the ranch house shrinking in the rear view as Mom waved tearfully from the porch, Dad's silhouette rigid in the doorway. "Call me," she mouthed, and we did daily at first, her voice a tether to the world we'd half abandoned. San Francisco swallowed us whole, its fog-shrouded hills a perfect camouflage for our secret. By day, I freelanced logos for startups, my portfolio blooming with designs that channeled the chaos, bold lines intersecting like forbidden paths. Michael tempied at a nonprofit in the Castro, counseling queer youth with an empathy born of fresh wounds, his laugh echoing in our echoey space as he recounted triumphs over takeout pad thai. Nights were ours, lazy sprawls on the thrift store couch, vinyl spinning Joni Mitchell ballads. His head in my lap as I carded fingers through his hair, the intimacy building like trust. But the idol cracked under pressure. Sarah resurfaced in November, a certified letter arriving like a ghost, annulment papers, laced with a note in her looping script. "I wish you hell, Michael. And your brother double." The word stung, a reminder of the woman we'd erased, her dreams collateral in our selfish awakening. Michael crumpled it, but the damage festered, manifesting in nightmares where he relived the slap, waking sweat-slick and murmuring apologies to empty air. "You're not the villain," I'd soothe, pulling him close, our bodies aligning in the dark like puzzle pieces warped by time. "She'll heal. We all will." He'd bury his face in my neck, breath hot. "But what if I dragged you into this? Your art, your life, you were free in SF. Now it's us against the world. Free, I scoffed, kissing his temple. I was lonely as hell. This, us. It's the plot twist I didn't know I needed. We ventured out cautiously, dipping toes into the Castro's rainbow veins. Pride after parties in dive bars where hands lingered without shame, couples like us blending into the mosaic. One evening at a poetry slam in a converted warehouse, Michael read a piece he'd scribbled, verses about altars of rain and brothers reborn. His voice steady, the snap of fingers applause like rain on leaves. I watched from the shadows, chest swelling with a pride fiercer than lust. And when he finished, pulling me into a kiss amid cheers, felt like absolution. Yet betrayal's echo haunted. Christmas loomed, a minefield of family rituals we'd upended. Mom insisted on the ranch, neutral ground, and we arrived laden with gifts, hand-thrown mugs for her, a leather-bound journal for Dad, disguised normalcy. The drive was tense, Michael's knee bouncing, my sketches of vineyard ruins tucked away like talismans. Dad greeted us at the door with a nod. Progress. Glacial but real. While Mom enveloped us in flour-dusted hugs, the kitchen redolent of gingerbread and pine. Dinner was a tightrope. Small talk about weather and football, Dad's eyes sliding away when our hands brushed under the table. But as carols crackled on the old radio, he cleared his throat, voice gruff over eggnog. Saw your article in the paper, Michael. That queer center thing. Good work. Michael blinked, stunned. Thanks, Dad. Means a lot. A beat. Then Dad's gaze flicked to me. You too. Those designs saw him on your site. Got talent, kid. Don't waste it on distractions. It wasn't endorsement, but it was bridge building, the first plank across the chasm. We exchanged gifts by firelight. Dad's to Michael a pocketknife engraved with their initials, a relic from boyhood hunts, and for a moment, the room warmed, illusions of wholeness flickering. But the real fracture came post-holiday. A call from Aunt Lydia, Mom's sister, the family gossip with a tongue sharper than shears. Heard about the wedding fiasco, she drawled over speaker, voice syrupy venom. Michael's little breakdown. And now you're shacked up? With your brother? Lord, what will the church say? Mom's gasp was audible, Dad's fork clattering. Michael snatched the phone, face ashen. Aunt Lydia, that's none of. Family business is everybody's. Boy, your father's rolling in his grave. Wait, he's alive, but close enough. Perverts, both of you. Stay away from the reunion. The line went dead, leaving a vacuum. Dad shoved back from the table, chair scraping like nails on chalkboard. What the hell? Woman, spreading lies? It's true, isn't it? Mom whispered, eyes darting between us. The wedding. It was about Ethan? Michael met her gaze, unflinching. Yes. I love him, Mom. More than anything. She wilted, hand to mouth, while Dad exploded. Love? That's not love. It's sickness. Get out. Both of you. Before you corrupt this house further. We packed in the snow-dusted dawn. Bags thumping into the car as Mom sobbed on the porch. Dad's silhouette in the window like a sentinel. I'm sorry, she called, voice breaking. I love you. Always. The drive back to SF was a funeral procession. Michael's knuckles white on the wheel, tears carving silent paths. We lost them, he murmured, pulling over at a scenic overlook, the bay glittering mockingly below. All of it. I pulled him across the console, holding tight as sobs racked him. Not lost. Just paused. We'll fight for it. But doubt crept in. A thief in the night. Back in the apartment. The walls closed. Our lovemaking turning frantic. Grasping less romance. More desperation. I buried myself in work. Landing a gig illustrating a queer memoir. Pages filled with stolen glances and hidden hearts that mirrored our own. Michael threw himself into counseling. But the fire dimmed. Sessions ending with him drained. Questioning his path. Climax brewed in spring. A gallery opening in Soma I'd clawed my way into. My first solo show. Fractured vines. Canvases exploding with wedding wreckage and brotherly silhouettes entwined in shadow. Invites went out on a whim. Mom. Dad. Even Sarah's old address. Michael hovered. Tyascu. Pride warring with fear. What if they don't come? They will. I lied. Stomach nodded as opening night dawned foggy and fraught. The space buzzed. Critics in berets sipping Chardonnay. Queer icons mingling with straights. My pieces lit dramatically against exposed brick. Michael's hand in mine anchored me as I mingled, voice steady through nerves. Then, the door, Mom, tentative in pearls, Dad hulking behind like a reluctant bear. No Sarah, but them here. Ethan, Mom breathed, hugging fierce, I scanning the art. It's beautiful, painful, but true, Dad grunted, staring at a central piece, two figures under storm clouds, hands outstretched. That's you too. Yeah, I said, throat tight. Us, he nodded, slow, then clapped my shoulder, hard, but not unkind. Proud of you, son. Even if I don't get it. Michael joined us, the four of us clustered like survivors, words tumbling, apologies, admissions, the slow thaw of reconciliation. As the night waned, Dad pulled Michael aside, voices low, ending in a gruff embrace that left them both red-eyed. Outside, under street lamps, Mom linked arms with us. Family's not perfect. But it's ours. It wasn't full mending, wounds like ours scar deep, but it was hope, humanistic and hard-won. Back home, Michael and I made love slow, reverent, the city humming approval beyond the pains. Yet betrayal's ghost lingered. A month later, anonymous emails arrived, photos from the wedding, doctored with slurs, threats from Lydia's ilk. Sinners. Keep away. Michael deleted them, but paranoia seeped, locking doors, screening calls. The breaking point came in June, a barbecue at the ranch tentative olive branch. We arrived sun-kissed, coolers stocked, but tension crackled like dry grass. Dad grilled burgers with forced joviality. Mom fussed over salads, but Lydia's shadow loomed, her whispers rippling through extended kin. Halfway through, Uncle Ray, Dad's brother, beer in hand, cornered Michael by the shed. Heard the rumors. Boy. Wedding stunt, brother loving, you're a disgrace. Michael stiffened, but I stepped in, voice steel. Back off, Uncle. It's none of your. Ray swung, fist glancing my jaw, pain exploding stars. Michael tackled him, the yard erupting, aunts shrieking, cousins pulling them apart, Dad bellowing orders. Blood trickled from my lip, Ray's nose, the air thick with accusations. Get out, Dad roared at Ray, shoving him toward his truck. Not in my house. Not my sons. The reunion fractured, kin scattering like leaves, but Dad turned to us, face etched with resolve. Enough. Your family. End of story. In the aftermath, bruised and bandaged, Michael and I sat on the porch swing, stars wheeling overhead. He chose us, Michael whispered, threading his voice. Yeah, I said, leaning into him. We choose us. Summer deepened, the California heat wave mirroring the slow burn of our evolving normalcy. The ranch barbecue fallout rippled outward, pruning the family tree. Lydia and Ray exiled to holiday cards only, their venom neutralized by Dad's unyielding stance. Mom blossomed in the space, inviting us weekly for dinners where conversations veered tentatively toward the future. Michael's nonprofit promotion, my gallery buzz leading to commissions, whispers of a joint cabin up in Tahoe for a proper getaway. It was humanistic progress, gritty and unglamorous. Dad's grunts evolving into questions about my fancy paints, Mom's hugs lingering with quiet pride. But romance, that delicate bloom, required tending. Michael and I carved rituals from the chaos, sunrise runs along Ocean Beach, where fog muffled the world and our hands swung linked. Evenings at hidden speakeasies in the Tenderloin, jazz saxophone weaving through candlelit confessions. One night, post a particularly grueling counseling shift where he'd held a kid through coming-out terror, he came home shattered, collapsing into my arms. It's like reliving it, he murmured, face buried in my shirt. The fear. The what-ifs. I led him to the balcony, city lights sprawling like a lover's promise, and pulled out the ring, simple platinum band I'd sketched and commissioned, engraved with always in looping script. No wedding, I said, kneeling in the salt breeze, heart thundering. No vows before crowds. But this us, forever. Tears tracked his cheeks as he hauled me up, kissing fierce. Yes. God. Yes. We slid the band on by moonlight, sealing it with bodies pressed urgent against the railing, the Pacific's roar drowning our gasps. It was our altar, private and profound, a romantic defiance against the world's judgments. Yet conflict simmered beneath. My career surged, a book deal for Fractured Vines illustrations, interviews with Bay Area mags that tiptoed around our unconventional story, but Michael's nonprofit hit turbulence. Funding cuts loomed, board members whispering about his personal drama, tainting the mission. They want a poster boy, not a scandal, he vented one night, pacing our living room, now adorned with my canvases and his dog-eared psych texts. Fuck him, I said, pulling him down. You're more than their token gay savior. He laughed, but it rang hollow. The next week, a donor meeting went south. Some Valley Tech bro, face flushed with craft beer, cornering Michael with slurred probes. So, the brother thing, true? Kinky family vibes. Ha! Michael's restraint snapped. He walked out, resignation letter drafted by dawn. Unemployed and unraveling, he spiraled late nights at dive bars, returning with whiskey breath and eyes haunted. Our bed became a battlefield, intimacy fracturing into obligation. I need space, he admitted one dawn, packing a duffel for the couch. To figure out who I am without the hero cape, the betrayal cut fresh. Not of family, but of us, the fragile construct we built on wedding ruins. I nodded, throat tight, sketching furiously through tears, portraits of him fractured, vines choking his form. Days blurred into isolation. Gallery deadlines met with mechanical precision. Mom's calls a lifeline. Give him time, baby. Love bends, doesn't break. Climax crested in August, a heat lightning storm cracking over the bay. I found him on the fire escape, bottle in hand, staring at the chaos. He slurred, voice raw. I fucked up. Again. Thought I could outrun it, the guilt, the whispers. But losing you, that's the real end. I climbed out, rain slicking my skin, prying the bottle away. You're not losing me. But this hiding in bottles, it's betrayal. Of yourself. Of us. He crumpled, sobs wrenching, and I held him through the deluge, lightning illuminating the truth. Our love wasn't fairy tale. It was work, raw and relentless. Come inside, I whispered finally. We'll fight together. Sobriety followed. AA meetings in church basements where Michael's story, wedding crash, brotherly love earned nods of kinship. He job hunted with renewed fire, landing a role at a larger queer advocacy group in Oakland, commuting with podcasts on resilience. We rebuilt intimacy layer by layer. Date nights at Ticarius, hands held openly. Therapy sessions where a soft-spoken counselor unpacked our incestuous tangle, framing it not as sin but survival, a bond forged in isolation. Fall brought harvest, metaphorical and literal. Dad called, voice gruff over the line, fishing trip. Tahoe. You two in. We were rods and tackle in the truck bed, the lake Miracom under autumn sun. Casts and catches interspersed with silences broken by revelations. Dad admitting his own repressed bisexuality, buried under farm debts and machismo. A half-brother from a youthful fling, estranged but alive. Family's messy, he said, reeling in a trout. But blood's thicker than judgment. Mom hosted Thanksgiving, table groaning under turkey and trimmings, extended kin vetted for tolerance. Toasts veered vulnerable, Michael's to resilience, mine to forgiveness, Dad's mumbled to the boys landing like grace. Laughter bubbled, genuine, as pie steamed, a humanistic feast, wounds scarring into strength. But the deepest conflict brewed internal, a romantic undercurrent threatening to swamp. Michael's new job demanded travel, conferences in LA, panels in Seattle, and distance amplified doubts. Late-night calls turned laced with longing, but homecomings sparked arguments. My jealousy over a flirty colleague's text, his resentment at my immersion in book tours. You're pulling away, he accused one night, post a signing where fans probed our inspiring story. I'm building us a life, I shot back, voice rising. While you're out schmoozing saviors? It escalated. Words weapons. You think this is easy? Loving my brother in a world that calls it wrong. Wrong? You're the one who confessed at an altar. Doors slammed. Nights on opposite couches. The ring on my finger mocking. Betrayal's specter loomed. Not infidelity, but erosion. The slow betrayal of complacency. Redemption dawned in winter. A snow-dusted cabin we'd rented on impulse. The Tahoe pines bowed under white. No phones. No deadlines, just us. Fire crackling. Mulled wine warming veins. We talked for hours. Raw as peeled nerves. Fears of normalcy's grind dulling our spark. The taboo's thrill fading into domesticity. I love you, he said. Snow falling soft outside. But I need the fire. The drama that started us. Then let's stoke it, I replied, drawing him to the rug. Lovemaking there was rediscovery, slow explorations, laughter mingling with moans, bodies mapping familiar terrains anew. Dawn found us entwined, plans sketched on napkins, joint art therapy workshops for queer youth, podcast on taboo loves, travels to feed the wanderlust. Spring bloomed reconciliation. Dad visited the apartment, touring my studio with appraising eyes, even cracking a joke about city fruits. Mom gifted us heirloom quilts, stitched with vines and stars. For your nest, Sarah, in a twist of grace, emailed Michael, healed enough to say, be happy. Truly, no friendship, but closure, a humanistic bow. Yet the true climax simmered, a storm gathering in July. Michael's org announced a national summit in D.C., keynote slot, his story centerpiece. Come with, he urged. Make it ours. I hesitated, book revisions piling. Crowds. Questions. Our dirt, laid bare, he cupped my face, eyes fierce. That's the point. No more shadows. The flight east was turbulent, mirroring nerves. D.C. sweltered, monuments stark against blue skies, the conference center a hive of activists and allies. Michael's panel, Queer Narratives, Breaking Silences, drew overflow, seats folding, chairs filled. He took the stage, mic in hand, voice steady as he wove our tale. Sacramento boys, vineyard vows shattered, love's defiant bloom. And my brother, he said, turning to me in the front row. Ethan, he's my one. In a world that says no, we said yes. Messy, yes. Human, absolutely. Applause thundered, but a heckler rose from the back, sign-waving conservative plant. Voice amplified. Incest apologists. This isn't love. It's abuse. Gasps rippled. Security moving, but Michael held firm. Call it what you want. It's ours. And it's real. I surged on stage, hand in his, facing the storm. Love doesn't fit boxes. It breaks them. The room erupted, cheers drowning jeers, a sea of nods and tears. In that moment, conflict crested and broke, our story not scandal but sacrament, humanistic in its imperfection. Back in SF, buzz followed, media requests, book deal expansions. But deeper, we grew, therapy deepening bonds, travels to Big Sur cliffs where we renewed rings with sea-salted vows. Romance rekindled in stolen weekends, emotional in vulnerability's embrace. Autumn returned, leaves turning the Sierras to fire, our lives a tapestry rewoven with threads of resilience. The DC summit catapulted Michael into reluctant spotlight, TED-style talks on familial love's frontiers, my illustrations accompanying his words in viral shorts. Backlash lurked, online trolls dubbing us Thompson taboo, petitions from fringe groups demanding disinvites. But support swelled, a tide of DMs from siblings in shadows, couples who'd hidden similar flames. You gave us words, one wrote. Humanistic echoes, our pain alchemized to purpose. Family mended in fits. Dad's birthday barbecue low-key. Hand-picked guests, saw him toast us with a beer lifted high. To my sons. Brave fools. Both. Mom beamed. Her quilts now bedspreads in our expanding flat. Walls alive with collaborative pieces. His poetry scrawled over my vines. Incest's thorns blooming roses. Even Sarah crossed paths at a charity gala. A nod exchanged over hors d'oeuvres. Awkward, but ice-thawed. Her take care a quiet benediction. Yet drama's underbelly stirred. A journalist from Rolling Stone pitched a profile. Brothers in Arms. The forbidden love that shook America. Promising nuance but probing deep. Interviews unearthed ghosts. Michael's teen furtive kisses with teammates. Dismissed as experimentation. My college journals. Pages torn but remembered. Chronicling crushes on his shadow. Was it always there? The reporter pressed. recorder whirring. Always, Michael affirmed, hand squeezing mine under the table. But we chose to see it. Publication hit like a wave cover story. Unflinching photos of us against vineyard backdrops. Headlines screaming, incest or inspiration? Sales soared. My book climbing charts. But betrayal's kin emerged. A cousin, long estranged, suing for family defamation, claiming our narrative erased normal Thompsons. Court dates loomed, lawyers billing hours, stress etching lines around Michael's eyes. We fight, I insisted, as we pored over depositions in a Castro cafe, steam rising from espressos. Truth's our armor. He nodded, but weariness shadowed. What if it breaks us? The world watching, picking at scars. Nights turned tender countermeasures. Baths drawn with lavender. Massages easing knots. Whispers reaffirming vows. Romance endured, deepened by adversity. Picnics in Golden Gate Park, where we'd feed each other strawberries. Laughing at joggers' double takes. Drives to Point Reyes. Waves crashing as we made love on blankets. Salt-kissed and free. Climax fractured in December. Snow dusting the bay for once. A freak storm mirroring inner tempests. The lawsuit dragged. Depositions dredging pain. Dad testifying haltingly about his regrets. Mom's letters read aloud. Tear-streaked pleas for unity. Then, the bomb. Lydia, subpoenaed, spilling vitriol. They seduced each other, poisoned the bloodline. Photos from family albums twisted into evidence of grooming. Michael shattered post-hearing, fleeing the courthouse in a cab, vanishing into SF's underbelly. I searched frantic. Bars, parks, our old fire escape. Dawn found him on the beach, waves lapping, bottle half empty beside him. Can't do this, he rasped, eyes hollow. The dirt. The stairs. I betrayed everyone. Sarah, Dad, you. I dropped beside him, sand cold, pulling him close. Betrayal? You freed us. This noise, this fear's echo. But look, I gestured to the horizon, sun-piercing clouds. Light winds, he wept then, wrenching, the storm breaking inside. Hours passed, words pouring, regrets over the wedding's public wound, guilt for dragging me from artistic solitude, terror of a world unyielding. Love you too much to ruin you. Ruin? I cupped his face, thumbs wiping salt. You're my masterpiece. Flawed, fierce, mine. We stumbled home, shedding wet coats, falling into bed where sobs turned to sighs, bodies seeking solace. Dawn's light filtered, illuminating the ring's gleam, tarnished but true. Together, I murmured, sealing it with a kiss. Always, resolution unfolded slow, humanistic in its ordinariness. The lawsuit crumbled, cousins' claims baseless, judge dismissing with a gavel's sympathy. Media frenzy faded to footnotes, our story absorbed into broader queer lore. Michael channeled fury into advocacy, co-founding a support network for familial loves. My art funding scholarships for outed youth. Spring equinox brought Tahoe, the cabin ours now. Deed signed in a ceremony of just us, vows renewed by the lake. Rings polished, Dad officiating with gruff poetry. Blood binds, but love liberates. Mom strung lights, a picnic of her pies, the water lapping benediction. Years folded forward. By 30, Michael headed the org's West Coast branch, silver threading his temples, laugh lines etching joy. I published a graphic novel, Vows in the Vine, our saga stylized. Thorns to triumphs, bestseller status. Adaptations whispered. The ranch thrived. Drought-defying vines Dad tended with our occasional hands. Weekends weeding side by side. Beers shared at dusk. Betrayals? They scarred. But healed, Sarah's wedding invite arriving. A +1 for us. Danced with polite grace. Lydia's silence. A mercy. Our love? Dramatic still, arguments over chores flaring to make up sex. Travels to Europe where Paris cafes hid stolen kisses, but rooted now. Romantic in quiet. Coffee mornings. His head on my shoulder during movies. The way brother whispered in bed held no taboo. Only truth. One Napa Eve. Anniversary of the storm. We returned, arch rebuilt. Vines lush. No crowd. Just a blanket spread. Champagne uncorked. To the one, Michael toasted. Eyes locking as they had then. To us, I echoed. Pulling him down. Rain threatening but holding off. Stars emerging like witnesses. In America's vast heart, where dreams clash with dogmas, we carved our niche human, flawed, unapologetic. Not fairy tales end, but life's continuum. Love's vine, twisting eternal.